Hello and welcome to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. Now before we get into things, just want to give a mention to the fact that I'm doing a giveaway on my Facebook page. There's a link to the page in the description, so if you're interested in picking up some nice freebies courtesy of Konami, then just drop down into the description and head over there. So for this duel video we're going to be having Salamangreat versus Danger Orcust. So here's a look at the Salamangreat list. There is a link in the description. It's mostly pretty standard, a few extra extenders in with the Foul, Reborn and the Foolish. Onto the Orcust deck. This is also, very fairly standard, got the typical Danger lineup. I've chucked in the Destrudo engine because I just love summoning Yazzie and playing off from there. So into the match then, we're going to kick this off with game 1, die roll being won by the Danger Orcust. And I believe that we're going to see some interesting plays, but let's just see how it pans out. So various options available here. So two sets here to start things off, and a Tsuchinoko being activated. I believe one of those sets is actually the rank up spell. Pankratops is discarded, and then being able to go through a normal summon of Ash into the Mermaid. But discarding the Orcust return here and being hit by an effect veiler, that's never a good sign, meaning that the combo just abruptly ends there. I believe the sets are a Shade Brigandine and a rank up spell, so play has to be passed, unfortunately. No additional plays being able to be made. In the draw phase we see Salamangreat Circle come down, which we'll get to search through the deck for a Gazelle. I believe it's a fairly weak opening from the Salamangreat side of things in terms of the available cards, so Gazelle has to be just normal summoned here in order to attempt to get things going by sending stuff from the deck to the graveyard. However, since we're looking at this play in a fairly offensive position, attempting to play through the back row and then relying upon the fact that the Mermaid has been used without resolving, it's possible for Salamangreat here to just build up a stronger offensive and push through. So these two being turned into the Stallion, which will of course give additional access to new link monsters, so that can be used in order to summon out from the deck. And we just see the typical line of play here with the Jack Jaguar coming out, and that enables an extra link summon. So those two going into the first Sunlight Wolf, that will trigger the Stallion here, which does get activated. However, we forget to resolve it until a little bit later, so you'll see that catch up in a short while. The Jaguar is being activated, putting the Stallion back and allowing the Wolf to add back one from the graveyard. I believe the Gazelle gets added back here, and then those two can attack in freely because the Stallion bounces back the Mermaid. Now the advantage here for the Orcust side of things is that there is the Mermaid in the extra deck. However, additional searches, or at least additional add here from the Wolf being turned into another Wolf, means that the Circle can be added back to the hand. You see just the one set from Salamangreat during the end phase, and then play pass back to the Orcust side of things. No actual plays possible at this point is very unfortunate. It could indicate bricking on hand traps or potentially on Kaiju here. So from the opposing side we see a Circle being played. I believe this is actually played a little bit late. I think it's played in the draw phase instead of during the Orcust turn, but it adds a Foul, and that does mean that additional plays can be made thanks to the Gazelle Foul play. And as the Orcust player is only on 4400, it's a pretty weak position to be in. So we see Gazelle and Foul come down. No effect of the Wolf at the moment because the spinning is still alive. That sends the Roar. And I believe there's probably an opportunity to use the spinny, which doesn't actually get implemented here. So the raw being sent and potentially being reused is kind of the priority at this stage. Everything attacks in, so yeah, I think the spinny could have been summoned here to speed things up a little bit. Instead, however, we see a Shade Brigandine blocking the last attack, so the Orcust player can survive for another turn, and then there is a summon of the Sunlight Wolf here. And then just some deliberation about what should be added back, and I think in the end we see the Roar is actually added from the grave. Potentially the Circle could have been added and the Roar set here would have given an additional card and just made things a little bit stronger from the Salamangreat side of things. However, you know, we're staring at a hand with multiple cards in it, potentially hand traps, and nothing going from the Orcust side of things, just no access to any real plays here. Stanlio comes down, and that can then be used. So that was the spinny being summoned there, and that means Stanley gets that additional summon, so the Falco here. So the Circle can be reset if the Falco goes to grave, and since the Roar wasn't placed off its own effect, when the Falco does go to the grave in the following turn, it will be able to be set. So nothing doing from the Orcust side, and that ends game 1 going to Salamangreat. So game 2, we see the Sky Striker engine immediately having an impact, not having to use a normal summon in order to go into the full combo through Kagari, into the Cerberus, and then into the Mermaid. There are actually going to be 2 mistakes here from the Orcust side of things. There's no hand trap for the Mermaid here. So there's a Jackalope ditched there which should have triggered, and we just forgot about it entirely, and it's going to be another mistake in terms of the Orcust plays. But we see here the Harp getting its effect off in order to summon out the skeleton symbol, Summon Sork being made, and then that brings back the Galatea. So here the skeleton should be shuffled back in order to set one of the Orcust spells, but instead we don't see that happen. The Wonder Wand is brought out for Summon Sork. Those 2 go into the Shade Brigandine, Rusty Bardich, which gives access to all of the additional cards, and since there's that World Legacy Wand in the graveyard, that will be able to summon the Harp Horror later in order to build up to rank 4, and then we see the add of the rank up magic. So very typical plays in terms of the Orcust Azathoth combo. Nothing special here, no decode or anything. I believe that's a result of not having enough materials available. However, things can obviously change depending on the hand that you draw. So Redoer banishes itself, and then during the end phase returns, play is passed, and we know that whatever the first action is that gets played by Salamangreat, so here it's an awesome Falco, the Azathoth is going to come out, and that is going to entirely shut down the opposing turn. And actually the Rusty Bardich allows you to pop the Falco too, so there's an Upstart Goblin, but that's not going to do an awful lot, given that there are 0 monster effects being able to be played by the Salamangreat player. And that is going to close out game 2. And as a result, we will head into game 3. So a bit of an odd one. We're going to see Orcust actually starting this one, because there are so many hand traps within the Salamangreat list that it was decided to go second there. So from the Orcust side, we'll just see what hand develops. So there's a normal summon of Sky Blaster to get the token, and then the activation of a Tsuchinoko. This is actually in order to increase the chances of ditching certain pieces, because Skeleton, you see there, was discarded, and there's also a World Legacy Wand in the hand, and as a result you can only ditch one with the Mermaid in order to go through the combo. And since there's only one of each combo piece within the deck, not having those in the graveyard makes the plays virtually impossible. There is unfortunately a Veiler on the Mermaid, so plays can't even begin here. With Wand and Symbol in the graveyard, there's actually nothing that can be summoned off those. Since the Orcust Nightmare wasn't actually brought out, unfortunately. So those do need to be banished before things can actually get going, which means that the play does end on just a Mermaid and a Tsuchinoko, unfortunately. So on the opposing side, we actually see one set monster and 2 set back row. Given that they couldn't be live rages or roars, it seemed like a reasonable option to just go through the nightmare plays. So there is a Phoenix stitching a Destrudo, which gets struck, and then obviously there's only 1 back row left. So potentially it's bluff at this point. There's an engage on the side of the Orcust, but there is an Ash for that as well, so too many hand traps here. However, a normal summon of the Cloak and then Destrudo paying half the life points gives access to the Yazzie, so potentially able to actually OTK here. But we see there's actually a second strike for the Yazzie, and since it wasn't controlled when it struck because the summon is negated, that means that there is absolutely nothing left from the Orcust side. Being hit out by 2 strikes and an Ash makes it virtually impossible after that first Veiler. So just so much disruption. There is a search for a Fog Blade here, however, which means that plays may carry on if the game lasts long enough, but we see play pass back to the Salamangreat side of things, where there is a normal summon of Gazelle, which can attempt to send, but is hit by the Fog Blade, and then there's a Foxy there, so these two are going to be turned into the Stallion, because that will give additional access for removal and just an additional summon. Without the Spinny, it makes things a little bit more annoying, and without the Jaguar as well, there's less recycling, and the Salamangreats are certainly in a position where they have full control over the game, although they are fairly low on resources at this point. So we see that the Stallion is used in order to summon out the Jaguar once again. This is going to be able to build up into a Sunlight Wolf, and just like last time, we're going to see that the Sunlight Wolf will be able to add back additional cards from the graveyard when the Jaguar is summoned underneath it. There's actually a Sanctuary here, so the Wolf goes into a Wolf before that. So it looks like hard drawn Sanctuary. Bit unfortunate, given that Bale Links would have been nice to cycle through in order to get that additional access, but then there wouldn't be the Jaguar there, I suppose. So Jaguar comes up, the Wolf triggers in order to add the Gazelle to hand, and then each of these can punch in for 1800. And since there was a Destrudo you've used previously, that puts the Orcust down to only 400 life points, which makes things very difficult, especially given that the draw ends up being, I believe, just the Orchestrated Returns. So this match goes to Salamangreat's hand traps and disruption, putting in a ton of work. Being able to hit that Mermaid without a follow-up play is very, very tough for the Orcust Danger deck to be able to play through, especially even with all of the extenders. If you do brick on your combo pieces, it can be pretty hard to ditch those into the graveyard in order to get things going. So a well-fought match, and Salamangreats take the victory. Remember to comment below with any suggestions of changes that you would make to the deck list or to the plays that were carried out during this match, and we'll keep a running tally to have an eye on any ways that we can improve our lines of play. And on top of that, you can get access to each of the deck lists that were used within this match by just heading into the description and grabbing your dueling book links. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.